Today we have cherry, not just cherry. I'm told this is a cherry burl. This comes to us from longtime viewer Terry Binder. I think it's Binder. I'm very sorry, Terry, if that's wrong. Could be Binder, but I'm going with Terry Binder. Please correct me, Terry. I hate ruining people's names. I just hate that. I've had this for quite some time, several months. I've been kind of waiting for it to dry. It's currently between 12 and 15%. 10% is the best we can get around here, so it's pretty dry. And if I never turn another piece of wood in my life, I want it to be this one. So today's the day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, as we like to say, at Shady Acres Wood Shop. Howdy, let's take a closer look at it. It's just about too heavy to hold, so I'm not going to hold it much. It's not all that big. It's going to be, when I get done with it, it's about a 14-inch diameter. It's about 15 by 14 and a half right now, and about 7 inches thick. It's got this protrusion on the side here, and it's got some cracks in it, so I filled with CA. That was a few months ago. Looks like that on the bottom. The bark seems to be very nice and tight. My guess is it weighs at least 20 pounds. I don't know if you can see there. My pencil line is kind of light, but I drew a circle in there, about a 14-inch circle. So I'm going to cut off these corners and a little bit of that protrusion at the top there, about an inch. And I think I'm going to use my chainsaw to do that. So it's not going to be perfectly round or anything. I'm just going to kind of knock off the surplus parts that would get turned away anyway. This thing is heavy, I'm telling you. Oh yeah, it's heavy. So let me figure out how I'm going to do that with my chainsaw. I'm not sure how I'm going to hold it. And I will drill a flat spot in the top here for my chuck jaws. Drill a hole in the middle of that for my woodworm screw. We'll get it mounted up on the lathe and get to turning. Well, that was a chore, getting it ready. This is what I have. My flat spot for the chuck jaws to set against and my hole for the woodworm screw. Now we'll just try and get this mounted up on here. Okay. Now I'll show you that's out of balance and that's on purpose. I'll show you why. Well, I'm not sure this will make any sense to you, but remember the protrusion that I talked about, this section here, that's the heavy part. I offset my center hole so that this will be closer to the tool rest and get turned away first. That's why it's so heavy down there, because I offset it. So you know, once I get that into round, it should be much more in balance, I hope. And you can see the burl figure in there, and here, and in the top where I drilled it as well, I saw quite a bit. So this should be a beautiful piece. This is real pitchy right here, real pitchy. And I ran into pitch on the top there when I drilled my hole. So I don't know if we're going to run into a lot of pitch on this piece or not or what, but whatever we do, it's going to be tomorrow, because it's dark out and it's cold out and I'm going in the house, and I think I'll have a chance to work on this tomorrow. I think I mentioned in my last video that I may not have a video Christmas week. I've got appointments and whatnot that I have to take care of, so it's going to take me probably longer than getting it ready for Christmas week. It'll probably be New Year's Eve week, so I probably will miss Christmas week. Sorry about that. Okay, have a really good evening. I'll see you tomorrow. I can only turn at 300 RPM until we get it more into balance. We'll probably never ever get it perfectly, but 300 is pretty slow. 300 RPM, 5/8" bowl gouge, mask and face shield on. Whew. I have the piece almost round on the outside here, but then I noticed, well, I already knew, but the bottom is so non-flat that it was causing me issues every time I was near this edge here, vibrating and vibrating. So I got out my carbide tool so that I can flatten off the bottom some. I also have picked up the speed to 360 RPM. Woo-wee! We're cooking now. So I just wanted to show you some progress. I'll get back at it, and I'll get back at rounding this up. It's not quite there, but it's close. I do see this crack that I filled is still there in all of its glory. I might fill that again. Yeah, I probably will. Yeah, I'll get this flattened off a little more and get some CA in there, and I'll bring you back. Finally! It's been about 2 hours probably since you were here last. The piece is all round and the bottom is pretty flat. You can see the pitch in here. Can you see that? Lots of pitch right there, right here, and right in here. And there's some up here as well. I don't think there's any more. Well, yeah, there's some over here. I did put CA in this crack, and it's smaller and tighter than it was, and I'm going to be cutting some of it away right now, so maybe it won't be much of an issue. I don't think it will. It was a lot of work to get it here, very slow, but I've got the speed up to 500 RPM. Whoa, boy. I'm excited about that. We're going to be turning with the 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask and face shield on. That's just about the shape I had in mind. Kind of looks like a big cherry pie. And that sounds pretty good to me. So beautiful. Well, a little bit more, I guess. I still have a flat spot here. I'm gonna go sharpen up. See if I got rid of that. Can't remember where it was. Yep. Well, that almost doesn't need sanding. That is just gorgeous. Gorgeous. Okay, we're going to move down here to the bottom and put in a recess. I've laid out for the recess, so let's make it. I'm going to use my dovetail tool, put a dovetail on the side here. That's good. Now, it took a while to get here, boys and girls, but it's time. Time for sanding. I want to tell you that I've already sanded the bark along here a couple of inches. I don't know how much I'm going to be removing. I'll be leaving some. I don't think I'll be leaving 2 inches. I've been sanding along the here with 100 grit and 120 grit, and now I'm going to do 180 grit. But I wanted you to see the pitch in here. You see that right there? That's just pure pitch. And this here is pure pitch. And over here and everywhere here, pitch. And down in there, and here. So there's just a lot of pitch in there. I don't think there's anything I can do about it. So I'm just gonna sand it. It's a little bit sticky, but not a lot. I mean, if you press hard, you can kind of stick to it, but just to run your hand over it, it's not. So hopefully I'm gonna use shellac, I'm pretty sure, on this piece. So hopefully that'll harden it. I doubt it, I don't know. But I just don't have much choice. And look at this. This whole thing right here. That's all pitch. And here. See that? It's like already chewed gum, ABC gum. So of course I'll be cutting away a lot of it, but the remaining part will be an issue. I guess, I don't know. Anyway, I've already sanded it with 100 grit and 120, and I'm about to sand it with 180 grit using my Sandoflex. So I'll be going this way and this way. I can't really go any other way. So I'll come at it from every direction I possibly can. When I'm done with that, I'm going to start at 120 grit, because this is really a pretty good finish I got on there. So I'm going to start at 120, working up through 400. I'll have the lathe spinning in reverse for that at about 250 RPM. And I'll show you what all that looks like as soon as I get my mask on. I'll be doing a lot more of that, but that's what it looks like. That's what that looks like. I'll bring it back in a bit and we'll put sanding sealer on there, I'm pretty sure. See you in a bit. Well, look who stopped by to see me today. This is my daughter Stephanie, my son-in-law Kelvin.
Howdy.
Hello.
You guys, some of you have already seen them before anyway, but they stopped by today and I'm so happy about it. So we're going to do Christmas stuff for the rest of the day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. I expect this to do a little popping for us, a little grain popping, a little color popping, and I don't think we're going to be disappointed. Oh my gosh, this is such a beautiful piece of wood. I feel so fortunate to have this. This is sanding sealer I'm applying, shellac based sanding sealer. Oh, and it's just gorgeous. It looks like an old map, and it's sanded up so smooth. When Steph and Kelvin were here, when they stopped by, I said, feel that, and I still had 2 grits to go. Kelvin felt it, I don't think Steph did, I don't know. Anyway, he said, oh yeah, that's nice and smooth. It's kind of like he wasn't too impressed. And so then I felt it again, and I wasn't too impressed. It's amazing what those last 2 grits did, 320 and 400. It was smooth when Kelvin felt it, but not like it is now. That really makes a big difference going from 240 to 320 and 400. And I think even the recess is going to pop pretty good. It's got a lot of figuring down there, which tells us the inside of the ball should be good. This has burl almost all the way around it, almost. This, on a piece this size, to have as much as it does and only be missing from here to here. That's the only place the burl part's missing. And it's not ugly grain, I'm not saying that. It's just not burl. And I don't know why. I don't know what causes that, but I know it's pretty amazing. Now this part right here, this little piece right here, I noticed it was loose. Felt a little loose to me. Wiggled. So I actually took this off the lathe and set it down on the top so that I could soak this area right here with CA to keep that piece from falling out of there. And it worked. It's really quite sturdy now. You know, see that burl grain inside there? So we should run into that in the bottom of the bowl, at least. And then I'm going to have to use my brush in several places. Like in here, and here, and up here. And of course I'll be brushing the top where I sanded the bark. And I need to work kind of quickly because I need to come behind this brush with a rag before the sealer dries, which is right now. Wipe up any spills, run marks, brush marks, that sort of thing. I try not to get too carried away. I didn't really mean to get up here because I'll forget where I did it and not get it. If you don't do that, you're going to have lines from the brush and they're hard to get out. Once they're dry, they're hard to get out. So you need to do this. What do you think so far? Isn't that pretty nice? Look at that. Oh my gosh. So that's pretty much what it looks like right now. I just can't wait to start getting into the inside. Okay? See you all in a little bit. Well, the pitch actually did harden up. Let's see, where's a whole bunch of it? Yeah, right here. It's hard and it's not sticky anymore. And I can compare that to some where I didn't put any finish on. Oh, right here. That's still goopy. But we're going to be cutting that away anyway. Looks like a worm or a slug or something. But it's not. It's just pitch. We're going to be turning at 560 RPM. 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask, and face shield on. I don't have any indication that the bark is going to come loose, but I don't want it to come loose, so I'm just taking real light cuts, just kind of sneaking up on it. That might be too much bark, too much wall thickness. Looks like it probably is. I hate to cut it all away. It's beautiful bark, but I don't want anything that thick. I just sharpened before we got started and it's dull. It's dull as can be. That might be about the right thickness. I know that's pretty thick and I might make it thinner, but I'm going to go with that for a little while. But I'm going to go sharpen up first. Look at all that BURL grain in there. Yes. Okay, a little thinner. Yes, it's dull. Maybe I'll switch to carbide. Dang it, I hate to do that. It's kind of disrespectful to the wood, but I don't want to sharpen every 5 minutes either, or 2 minutes in this case. Pretty beautiful, pretty dang beautiful. Look at that crack though. Ooh, that's a Lulu. On the outside it stops right here. Well, you can't see that. It goes back here about 1.5 inches on the outside, so I think we're okay. But my gosh, look at that grain. Yeah, I'm gonna switch to carbide, dang it. Use this hollower. Whoa. Alright, how's that? Well, I think I'm going to leave the walls that thick. And we'll cover undercutting here in just a minute, so don't get excited. I'm going to shear scrape. I tried to get my scraper in here, but it won't fit because of the handle back here on the tailstock. So I can't get my scraper in there, so I'm going to shear scrape while I can, while I still have center support. And then we'll cover undercutting in just a minute. I just did that, but I know I'll get that question, so we'll do it again. Okay, undercutting. People always say this, and I know I just covered this in the last month. People always say, well, if you want to leave that bark thick, you know you can undercut it. Well, the problem is we have this high spot here. Probably this is the highest. Over here, we have the lowest. So undercutting means to come at it like this, leave this top edge, and right below it, start going towards the outside. So leave this thick, but thinner down the walls as you go. The problem with that is when you get to that low spot, now you're over here and you're cutting away that. So here you have 1 inch thick, here you have 3/4 of an inch thick, and the more I go, then we have 1/2 inch thick, but you still have 1 inch thick over here. It would look ugly. I'm not going to do that. That's why you can't undercut a bowl like this. You can certainly do it if you got a nice flat top across there, absolutely. All day long. I've done it many times. You can't do it on a bowl like this. So I can't undercut it, so it is what it is. So now I'm going to come back here, remove some of the center. When I told Santa Claus I needed some bow shield to lubricate my lathe bed and everything, so I hope he comes through. So back to carbide for a bit. I'm probably going to have to get rid of my tailstock here pretty soon, or continue with the carbide. I guess I'll continue with the carbide until I get rid of this spot. I made a pretty big mistake when I made my recess. It's a perfect fit in my chuck jaws, so there's no room to get my bowl calipers in there. So I'm gonna have a hard time measuring how thick the bottom is. I'm sure we still have 1.5 inches to go or something like that. Boy, I hope we get rid of this rot here pretty soon. I'm stalling again. This is hard work. I picked the speed up to 640. Maybe I could just break it off. I've been digging around in this hole here, and it goes in there a ways. And if I stick my calipers in there and measure to the bottom, we have less than 1/4 inch. And I don't know if I've dug out all of it. Kind of hard to tell. It just kind of keeps coming. I don't want to dig too hard. And that's right near where it's actually up here. There's a void in the bottom that I showed you near the recess. And then the recess is this big, so I'm just on the edge of it, and it comes up in there about 3/16 of an inch. So I'll do more turning. I don't know that I'm going to get to the bottom of that and not hit my recess, because then we'd definitely have a hole in the bottom of the bowl, and I don't want that. But I'm going to sharpen up my gouge and get to busy here doing something. I don't know quite what. Well, it's a conundrum. Maybe we can live with that, huh? Yeah, I think we're about there. I'm going to see what kind of damage I can do with my scraper. Yep. Time for sanding. Well, this is going to be a difficult sanding job. When you sand, you're looking for lines in the work to see if you've got some tool marks, and you sand out those tool marks. But this wood is so figured that when it's spinning, it looks like there's lines all over the place. I've already sanded this a little bit, just a little bit. But if I feel it, I can't feel any tool marks at all. I can't believe that. And when I inspect it, I don't see any tool marks. When I get up close, I just don't see any tool marks. And I've been looking at it for 10 minutes trying to find some, and that makes me nervous that I can't see them, but they should be there. I didn't get that smooth of a finish off my tool, but I can't see any, so it's a problem, and I can't feel any. It actually feels pretty dang smooth. I just sanded it for like 30 seconds because what it does when you sand it, then those tool marks will be like a lighter color. Depends on the wood, but usually they're a lighter color and they're a distinct line. But I just can't find any, and there's plenty of deterioration in here. But I'll get it smooth, but it's going to have some texture in some areas, like here, and of course over here where there's a gap in the wood. And there's also, is that coming through? There's also holes. Yeah, see that hole? And then down here, there's actually 3 holes. They're tiny. So I think I'm just going to leave those holes as they are. Won't be the end of the world. You can't really see them. I mean, without this, you can't see them at all. It's just when I come through with light from the back side. They're all pretty much just pinholes. This one over here is a little bit bigger, but it goes at an angle. So if you look straight in there, it doesn't look like it goes all the way through. And the same from underneath. If you look in there, it doesn't look like it goes all the way through. So I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to sand it. I'm going to have it spinning at 300 RPM with my 2-inch sanding disc, starting at 80 grit and working up through 400. And I'll show you what that looks like as soon as I get my mask on. Pretty simple, really. It's just that it's so big, it's going to take a lot of time. I'll have to spend more time per grit, but I'll get it done. I'll bring it back and we'll put some sanding sealer on there. See you in a bit. Well, all I can say is it's smooth as can be. I don't know. It seems like I would feel or see any tool marks, and I just don't see any. But what I do see is some wonderful grain in there, huh? As is always the case with a piece like this, it did take quite a little bit of hand sanding around these edges to make sure they weren't still sharp or rough or whatever. This is sanding sealer again, just like before on the outside. And as long as I can get the color inside these voids to match the rest of the wood, then I think we're okay. And just a little bit of this will do the trick, along with the shellac. This is a statement piece. You can use it as a fruit bowl if you want to, but that's not what it's for. It's to set out someplace obvious, entry table or whatever, so people will see it and be impressed. I'm not done with the brush, but I need to wipe up any brush marks before I continue with more brushing. What a marvelous piece of wood. Alright, there you go. Pretty much what it's going to look like. I'll see you in a bit and we'll take a look at this thing sitting upright and handsome. Be sure you stick around at the end of the video so you can see the before and after shots of this piece. If you'd share the video, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Well, here it is. One cherry BURL bowl in the books. And it is a beauty. Don't you think? Look at that grain. Still pretty heavy, as you can probably tell by the thick walls. I left them thick intentionally. I think it adds, well, obviously adds to the mass of the piece, makes it seem bigger than it is, and it is pretty big. But like I said, I think this is just a showpiece. This is something you set out for people to impress them when they come into your house. I know I would be impressed. And not by anything I did. It's the wood. I did some work. I did some hard work, but it's the wood. You don't see the work, you see the wood. And it's gorgeous, isn't it? Cherry BURL. It's beautiful everywhere you look. Let me know what you don't like about it and what you do like. I'm sure there's some folks that think I should have filled the voids down here. There's 1, 2, 3 voids I could have filled. And I would have used coffee grounds, and they likely would have matched the wood, although even coffee grounds, as fine as they are, they still, to me, they still look like a filled hole. A crack, you know, if you were to fill a crack like this with coffee grounds, that'd be fine. But a large concentration in one spot like that, they kind of stand out. And those things just don't bother me. That's what was going on inside the tree. And it must have been a beautiful tree, because it sure is a beautiful piece of wood. Would you have this setting on your entry table, dining room table, centerpiece? I sure would. Perfect example of a cherry burl. It's just beautiful. Let me know what you think. Thank you, Terry Binder. And again, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Terry. That's what I think of whenever I see your name in the comments. I always say to myself, Terry Binder. I hope it's right. Let me know so I can correct myself if it's wrong. Thank you, Terry Binder, for sending this along for all to enjoy. If you like this video, thumbs up please. I'd sure appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you very kindly. I truly appreciate that. I also appreciate you taking some of your time to spend with me today. That means a lot to me. I'm looking forward to your comments. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.